to another edition of Short Track Radio, and we are hovering around one mic, but we are in the Shockwave shop with Dave Smith. Dave, thanks for joining us today for an episode of Short Track Radio.
You're very welcome.
So, we have little technical problems to start this one off, so we'll see how it all works out. We have 3 backup systems being used right now.
I'm going to tell you, this is my style.
Yes.
Yes.
One take.
There we go.
No BS, ladies and gentlemen. This is like live, talking to racers in a racing
It's a qualifying lap. You don't get 16 chances.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. There we
Cold
go.
tires. We're
Cold,
going out on
cold tires. Sticker cold tires.
We've just completed a motor swap.
Yeah. Not even sure what the cross weight is in it.
And the fuel line came off.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks very much for taking the time on your busy schedule to sit down with us. And looks like someone's wanting to ask you something very important.
Is
over
it
there.
important?
We're running a workout right now, so we may get disturbed.
You're going to have to go outside with it because we're taping. Can you do it outside? Yeah, you can.
I could try, yes.
Be creative.
Hit workouts
Sorry,
outside.
we didn't plan on being here this late.
Can I go upstairs?
You can
Probably
go-
easier if you go outside.
You can go
Upstairs.
outside. It's a nice day.
So this is now like someone just put some water down right before you go to qualify, so you actually get to come back in and try again.
It started sprinkling.
Yeah,
Well,
it started sprinkling a little bit, so track's dry.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah.
We have actually, that was my trainer, Eric, who does a really great job of training everybody at Procom, because I decided that, it was good for me in racing, it's good for the staff. So we've got quite a number of our staff that work out. And then I realized that working out is, an important part of the racing thing. And so 2 or 3 years ago, I started working out at Pisces with Eric, and then Eric came to work with us. And now he's developing a whole program built around stock car racing. And we're finding out that we're talking to Joe Gibbs and to RCR and the other big teams, that we've got a very good program.
Nice. So working on hand-eye coordination, drills, strength, mix of everything.
Hand-eye coordination, strength. I run 15, 20 miles.
Miles.
We
Not
still
sure what that
talking-
is.
That's kilometers.
Yeah.
Quick conversion on that.
It's about 40K maybe, so 35K.
Lots, yeah.
Nice.
And we exercise machines and a lot of specific core exercises that are specific to racing. And then, of course, we've got the simulator that's in our background. And we use that, and I'll sit on that with my suit on for an hour a day with lots of heat, so you get really good and hot and sweaty.
It just blew up in the background, actually, when we were talking.
Yes, we left the iRacing street stock idling a little bit too long there, unfortunately.
We lost a motor on
Lost
pit road.
Yeah.
It's a rough time. Well, we'll be changing that after we have a simulated engine change
Perfect.
simulator.
Yeah, get
the
Brandon some
simulators,
practice.
Can we talk about simulators?
Yeah, it's a
Of
big
course,
part of
yeah.
here, isn't it?
The simulators are they've captured my imagination. It went from that would be nice to have to a must-have. Definitely, we found that the last practice session that we went down the United States, at Sonoma, for example, we're 3.5 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi 1, Mississippi 2, Mississippi 3.5 is a long time when you're hauling. And it was very encouraging, and it was just from doing that. Because with iRacing now, they've scanned all the track surfaces, and it's very realistic. The setups of the cars are very realistic. So we learn about shock absorbers, we learn about sway bars. We're putting our own setups into these cars to make them quicker. So we learn that. And then the hard part is to sit on that thing for an hour and make no mistakes and just get hot and tired, because what happens when you're older is your brain starts to go, and you just have to, you need to keep, exercising that. And so to sit on this thing for a whole day isn't unusual, but it's just taken me months and months and months to be able to sit on it for an hour and not make any mistakes.
And are you practicing with your crew on that as well? Kind of changes you want to make, and where feedback, or you just kind of doing it yourself, getting some hands-on experience, and then going?
Well, Brandon's actually a better driver than I am. He should be driving the car, not wrenching him on it. But that's another point. Brandon sets the mark with the simulator. He does a really good job of blasting some good laps, and then I've got to capture those laps. then there's the other part. There's going fast, and there's going fast for a long period of time. The other component that this helps us with, that's something new that we've got, like the first that we learned about at the PRI show, is that it reads the data not only from the track that we're at the time, like comparing iRacing laps.
Yeah.
So if I'm making a practice lap at Sonoma, I can compare this lap to another lap, and I can pick 2 laps, and I can compare them, and I can see like a fast lap or a slow lap. Where was I fast? Where was I slow? But wait, there's more. I've got data from every test that we've ever done. Every time I've ever driven the car, I've had a computer run. So I've got every lap recorded. Plus, there's more. We tested with the likes of Joey Logano, big fan favorite, I know, in Victoria.
Yeah, huge. Good number.
Yeah.
Good number, but
Yes.
Brad Kozlowski, Paul Menard last year, and Ryan Blaney. So I've got all of their laps recorded. So we could before compare those, but now we can compare those to my iRacing laps.
Nice.
So the significance of this is that you can see exactly by the GPS coordinates what line those guys are taking. You can also see all the braking points, acceleration points, where they're fast and where they're slow. So it's a great piece of technology.
nice to merge that technology with racing.
You're really helping us along. And the big news is that we're partnering with Howe Racing, who built my Trans Am cars and my late model cars. And Howe is building us a full cockpit. So when you look at the simulator, it's like you climb in through the window, and we're going to put heaters inside, so it's super hot in there. And the motion simulators were top secret, working on a project with another Canadian company on. But it's got 7 axes of motion, so that we can simulate all the body roll, all the heat, the noise in the helmet, the pit chatter, all that stuff we can simulate. So it's big news, considering that I did nothing but just sit on my butt and train through the winter months. I got injured at Western Speedway, and I got injured in a go-kart, and broke some ribs, and I didn't have a very good winter. And I didn't do nothing except drive the simulator, didn't practice at all, and went and was like as fast as this young Xfinity driver that we were training with, Chris Cook, and was like much faster at East Track, where I cut my teeth and had been practicing a lot. Then we went to Sonoma, and we were fast. So it shows that simulators are working, and it's another piece of technology, much like what we did with Shockwave, where I brought in technology that I was interested in, and being very selfish, what I wanted to see in a boat, and what I wanted to see is what other people wanted to see, and we're kind of hoping that these simulators go the same way.
Is that something you're looking to build multiple here and look at selling them, or is it just something that's just a personal in-house use for Shockwave?
Yeah, well, let me give you Simulator 101. Here it goes, because I've delivered this 1,000 times. Simulators are like this. There's $700, and then there's $7,000, and then there's $70,000, and then there's $5 million.
Yeah.
Right, and the $5 million simulators aren't portable. They have to book them. They're this I've got it because it's iRacing. I've got a choice of 100 tracks,
yeah, dirt,
100
pavement,
different cars,
everything.
and 100 different configurations, and so there's just a lot more that you can do with it, and it's fun. So younger people are going to like it, and it's diverse. I can run a dirt track one day and learn dirt racing, and it's great for car control and reflexes, and it kind of breaks the monotony. And then we're finding that if you learn dirt, you start to become a better pavement driver. As an example. So what was the question?
Are you gonna start looking at multiplying, getting more simulators and looking at is it just for Shockwave, or something you want to bring to local racing, or is it just right now it's in-house kind of thing? That's what your main goal is.
Every year, I think, when are you going to write your next hit record?
Yeah.
The last one that we did around Shockwave was the ice consoles, because we integrated all of the controls and weapon systems and navigators, and we put everybody together on one console, and we suspended it. And I went around through the Northwest Passage with a prototype, and we sold it to the who's of special forces around the world. So it was a very successful product. And if you're a person that's like me, you're like, oh, good, that's it. What's the next idea? This is my next idea. This is my next thing that I think is going to be big for us. Not in that we're one of millions of manufacturers and millions of users out there in the world right now. And simulators are big and they're being used for everything else. But the way we're applying technology and our price point and whatnot, I think is going to be really a good thing.
Nice, good fit.
Yeah.
So we've heard a lot about Shockwave coming back in the recent years, but your racing history started as we saw from the promo of the film that you guys put together last year. Started up on the hillside at Western Speedway in the mountain, sneaking up there and watching the races.
That's right. Yeah. No, I used to sneak out my bedroom window and go to the races, and yeah, it was so because I grew up in we weren't a Christian family by any stretch, but very, my dad was very military, and it was the 50s, right? And so I hung around the track and people drank beer and they swore, which I just thought
still do.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was the coolest thing, right? And my parents were like, "Hope you're not going on that track again." "Oh no, we're good. I'm just going to go to bed early." But it's only 5 o'clock. Oh, I'm just so tired. No, actually, my parents were always quite supportive of the whole thing. But I did have to kind of sometimes, it was past the curfew and whatnot, and go out. And so Western Speedway was at the time, like a 2-hour walk, 2-mile walk, not 2 hours, sorry, 2 miles up the road. And I didn't have any money, so we used to just hide in the trees and watch the race. But again, it was a glimpse into this whole world of people that drank beer and swore and loud cars and that was it. I was hooked.
And then that transitioned into obviously building cars out there at Western Speedway. You guys, you and Harvey Chipper and some of the guys helped Gary Kershaw out with some of his more famous 22 cars. And I think, the big thing that we were highlighting here is you helped out with the Chevelle that Gary won the Permatex 200 down at Riverside, and some interesting stories coming out of that trip. If you wanted to give the viewers some insight on, or the listeners, I should say, and viewers.
Yeah.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
With our
It's on YouTube.
Hello.
It's on YouTube.
Yes.
Hi. Yeah.
Give some insight on how that kind of plan came together, and take us through Gary and your guys' Riverside experience down at the road course.
Yeah, well, stupidity is a wonderful thing, and being naive is great. And I was always and still am a little bit of a dreamer, and nothing is impossible. And that was much the case of the way it was back then. I mean, my dear friend Harvey. I used to hang around his workplace, Odell Automotive, every night after school. It was like school to the shop, and I would do anything. I would sort out tools, and then Harvey invited me to be on the pit crew of the car. That's when we had a 55 Chev. And then we took the chassis of that thing, and we're going to go to Riverside. And that was a big deal back in the day. I mean, you didn't get a rule book. You got a rule pamphlet. It was just like this little tiny pamphlet, and with these vague rules, and Herschel McGriff, we befriended, and he gave us some advice, and we built this car in this little one-car garage on Atkins Road with we had a torch and a grinder and a big grinder, and we gas weld with coat hanger wires and a gas torch. I'm not kidding. And I can remember working on the holidays, like Christmas Day, out working on the car, and I always remember building it and thinking this thing's going to be in like Hot Rod magazine. This is like it looks like, you're got a spray bomb out. You're like, it's like everything's gonna be, this is the way it's done. Like,
I am George Barris.
nobody is going to build a car that's going to be as tiddly as this car. And to our credit, it was a pretty nice car. And to Harvey's credit, it was well put together. For its day, it was a 55 Chev chassis, leaf springs, 65, as well as a 64 and a 65 Chevelle body, because it was bits and pieces that we put together. But we went down there the first year and we burnt the thing right to the ground. We had a pit fire, and I think it was all over the first fuel stop. I got burnt really bad. We put the car out, and that was going to be it for everybody. And then I got to thinking, like, let's go and we could do this thing. We could go there. We could win this race, guys. And Gary was kind of no, and Harvey was kind of no, and and then you just keep selling. And lo and behold, we got everybody back on board again. We built the car, and we went down, and thanks to people like Joe McMurchie that helped us out, and the Wades were there, the usual Western Speedway crowd giving us support. And lo and behold, the guy that was leading blew his motor up, and everybody kind of screwed up, and Gary ran a real fast, smooth race, and we found ourselves in the winner's circle. So, it was a very, very storybook, epic, beer drinking day for sure.
And you were a part of the 21 straight main event wins there with Gary too, I believe, as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I had an accident going to the track, and it put me in the hospital, and I came out again with this renewed vigor. And I started building cars again, and I built a 65 Chevelle that was way ahead of what is out there. I mean, that thing without ballast, it weighed, I don't know, like 22 or 2,400 pounds. It was a very, very light car, and it was all lead. And at that time, if you had a 3,200 pound car, it was like 3,200 pounds. That's what the car weighed, right? And I had like a 2,400 pound car with like 800 pound block of lead on the left side, and we had no left side weight rule, and everything on that car was, optimized to. The word has been used, cheated. It was not a cheater car. It was built, but it was built to the rules. Yeah. And so it had a lot of technology that is now being used. We had cambered rear ends. The car was bump steered. We paid real close attention to the roll center heights. And there was just a lot of things that we did with that car back in that day that was ahead of its time. And of course, don't forget, I was working with some pretty sharp guys. Like Harvey Chipper and Joe McMurchie aren't chopped liver. And, we had good drivers. Gary was a very good driver, smooth driver. So I think he won 25 straight main events in a row at Western Speedway, which is...
Back when they ran that many in a year too. Yeah. Lots of races.
I think it was over 2 years.
So what made you be that creative? Just the people around you, the team you built, or was there just things were changing at the time for race cars? Were just people starting to try different things, and you guys were just trying more, or what kind of gave you the edge?
Racing hasn't changed that much. Our success right now is because we've got a good crew and I've got good cars, and we pay attention to details, and that has never really changed. And in business, we've got a good business because we've got a good crew of people, and because we pay attention to details, and because we're innovative. And if I may, with this podcast, I don't know what's coming out, and I don't know what people have heard about the Speedway being sold, but that's one thing that the Speedway does impart, is that kind of training in people that you learn that. You learn about perfection, you learn about excellence, you learn about details, you learn about human relations, you learn about all of these things, and it's just, I'm hoping it's going to stay, because that's what it's done for a lot of Victoria people, businesses, persons like myself who would have nothing if it wasn't for the track. Yeah,
it's been, for me, I've been out there since I was a kid, and you like you said, you learn how to interact with people. You learn, people are drinking and doing stuff out there, so you learn different behaviors and what you like and don't like, and it's great for those building skills personality wise. But then with the vehicles,
if you misbehave, you get punched.
You get punched,
Exactly.
or someone takes you out or something.
You learn not to do
Done
it.
it.
Yeah, you learn very quickly.
Yes.
Maybe I shouldn't take that person out next time. So with that, going back to the building days, why didn't you have the urge, or did you have the urge to drive and just not the opportunity? What was motivation to keep building and keep crewing?
I was scared shitless when I was younger. I used to watch the start of a race, and it was like the most painful to sit through a race was one of the most painful experiences I could ever imagine. It was just torture, like worrying about this and worrying about that. And of course, we always ran up front. And, I can remember even running with Roy Smith. We'd be down in the States and we'd be running against, the best, Allison and Petty. And, oh gosh, we're fourth. We got to do better.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be running top tens. And like now I realize that was pretty good for back in the day. I watched that, and it's just what I'm doing is very unusual for sure. It's like it feels even today. When I get in the car, it's quite foreign to be on the other side of the door, and especially you're coming in from hot lapping and you're all covered in sweat, and the first thing is somebody leans against the door and they say, "What's it doing?" And it's strange because that's my line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now I'm having to feel that out, and so it's a lot different.
So practice over years, being on the other side of the vehicle, are you able to communicate better? Or is that still foreign to you? I know a lot of guys always talk, like Dale Taylor's one guy that I just communicated well with. He goes, the car is kind of doing this, what do you think? And then we're just, one or two sentences or words back and forth, and he can make a change in the car that made it go quicker. Are you able to articulate to the team, or is it still a rookie in that sense?
It's getting better. But when I started, flat tires, I can't even tell you which one's flat. It's like one of them. And like, what? They come on the radio. What tire was going down? I don't know. What's one of them? Just have a look.
Figure it out.
The one that's the low one is still flat.
I think they're all somewhat low. You better check them.
No, it's. I wish that I had the track experience back then. It would have helped immeasurably. Knowing what it feels like when a car's loose, when it's pushing and whatnot. But I went through quite a long period where I didn't want anybody to touch the car. A, because I'm stubborn, and B, because it was all me, right? And now I'm realizing, actually, you have to drive it hard, but the car has to be a good car. And I learned that running Daryl Midgley's super late. I backed one of his cars into the wall in Tucson. Yeah. That I admit we were struggling with it. And probably it was me going backwards with what I wanted. Anyway, I did it a favor. I put it out of its misery, and I jumped in Brandon Carlson's car, and I went a second quicker. Well, I'm not that good of a driver, but to go in a 17-second track, to go from 17 something down to 16 something as fast as I ever went. Didn't have any time in the car, didn't have any time to scuff tires, nothing. So the light went on. I'm like, wow, especially on an oval, if the car is better, you're going to be better. Yeah. Road course, not so much. Road course, you can do what we call carry a car on your shoulders, and that's, you can just drive it, and that'll make a big difference. Yeah.
So what was your first car that you raced? A competitive race in a series? Was it your Trans Am car that's behind us right now, or is it... the Trans Am. No, the first car. Yeah,
I raced...
so you're scared shitless of cars, and you're like, you know what? Let's get in a Trans Am car on a road course.
Well, the whole story is I went to Bondurant with Rocky Collins, who I raced with, and we were going to rent cars for a day, and it was fun, and Camaros, and I did it, and then as a joke, I was at the racetrack, and I got this plain white hat, and I walked up to him, and I signed a hat for him, and I handed it to him, and he says, "Is this the start of your racing career?" And I said, "Yeah, it is." And then I thought about it, and then I saw Chris Cook driving in a stock car, and he was sliding around. And I'm like, "Yeah, that should be on your bucket list. You should do that." So I was like, just once, I'm going to go there and rent the thing. And so I did. And, I was telling you the story about the shifting, and he wondered how I learned that. And I said, well, everybody in Langford knew how to shift a car. Yeah. I was like driving to high school. And, it just one thing led to another. Then I did my first not professional race, it was an amateur series called NASA and ASA, and I won. And I won from the front of the pack, and then they reversed the pack, and I won from the back of the pack. And then the second weekend I raced for Pro Autosports, there's another amateur series, and I won the first race from the front of the pack, and they reversed it so I wouldn't win, hopefully. And I started the back of the pack, and I won that. And I thought, wow, you are good.
Nice. What kind of cars are those?
They're
Same Trans Am cars? Yeah, okay.
So then, okay, good. You're going to go racing. Well, I'm finding out that this amateur is not quite like,
Same as
Trans Am was a little bit of a a little bit of a dive into the deep end of the pool.
Nice.
I think there was a good story when you showed up at Indy and you had to, skipped a little bit of the SCCA driver protocol that they have to get your SCCA license.
Yeah, my bad. I put my resume out there, and so you can either spend a painful year or two doing regional races to get your FIA license, or you can challenge the test. So I sent in my challenge. I says, well, I'm David Smith, and I've got this many of hours of training, and I belong to the couch and track, and I put a lot of time in up there. And so, I wrote everything out. They gave me a provisional pro license. What that means is that we're going to put a yellow bumper on you. We're going to watch you every race and make sure that you don't make any mistakes. You belong on the track. And so they gave me this license, and everything was fine. And I'm at Indianapolis, and three officials walk up to me, and you're in trouble with the officials when they're all shoulder to shoulder, and they're in neatly pressed uniforms, and all these SCCA guys. And Mr. Smith, can we talk to you for a minute? Oh, yes. I didn't know what they wanted to talk about. And they said, yes, how many races have you done this year? This year, 3. We didn't mean this year. We meant three. You've done 3 this year. How many races have you done? Counting your short track races and all the championship races that you've done and regionals and everything. How many races in your life have you run? And I said, well, I told you I had 3. They said, Gary Smith was there. They said, you're telling us that you've run 3 races in your life, and you're going to race here at Indianapolis? And yeah, that's right, sir. That's my intention. Well, I'd already been out on the track, so they were they fined me or something and made me say that I was going to go to a school, which I still haven't gone to yet. Well,
Chris Cook teaches you though. That's a good. Yeah.
For SCCA purposes, yes, you've taken the course.
I've taken the course.
Yes.
And short track racing now.
Yes.
Late models. You've done it now.
And I raced Daytona, and then shortly after that, and then I went to Daytona and I watched the race because we sponsored the Derek Krause truck, Shockwave. And my God, it was fast. I was who wrote there? That was stupid. So,
they don't go much slower on that track. You're getting some speed there.
It's exactly what I talked about when we talked about this whole thing of Langford and Western Speedway and the whole deal with going back to Riverside and whatnot. Ignorance is your friend. Don't be afraid to do anything. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself. Don't be afraid to get out there. And I know I'm sounding like I'm turning 70 in a couple of weeks. So I got to get ready for that old person's advice phase coming into.
Really grinds my gears, Dave Smith quarters.
Well, no, there's 2 places in life where you know everything. Did you know that? 17 and 70.
Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah, that makes sense. 2
chances you have to show everybody that you know it all and they know nothing when you're 17 and when you're 70. So I'm close. I'm getting better. What was the story I was talking about?
I think it was we wrapped up the SVRA thing.
Yeah.
I think. But let's get a Roy Smith story before we go. What?
Oh,
you got any good ones?
Where could I start? Because I fished aboard fish boats with Roy Smith, so I saw the other side of it, and the man never changed. He was absolutely. You could do a movie on his life and a movie on what he was like. Energy, like nobody's business. There's no way that I'm a Roy Smith or a Herschel McGriff. And I did talk to Herschel when I was down at Phoenix, and I says, Herschel, I've driven these cars, and they're really hot inside, and they're hard to steer. How did you do it? He says, "We were tough men back in those days, Dave." That's my Griffin impersonation. And he was just a real tough man, but very, very kind, always smiling, just hilarious to listen to over the radio. He was always talking about going around the corner and the hair standing up on the back of his neck. And I said, well, just back off a little bit. I can remember him on the high banks of Ontario, right against a wall with smoke just pouring off the right side of the car, qualifying, just getting every ounce out of that thing that he could. Quite an inspiration. I mean, everybody, Kershaw, Haslam, all the guys that I got the pleasure of working with, Herschel, all of those guys were great. And I think about them. They still mentor me, and I think about them every lap. If I'm lame on a shift, or if I'm lame getting into the corner, if it's not really badass and we're not sliding around, can I say that?
Yep.
Oh, you can swear. It's a podcast. Do whatever you want.
Cut that out if you like. I'm 70, right? You can say
whatever you want. Yeah,
exactly.
Just about. So it's been a real inspiration. I think about them. I think about them every race. I think about my dear friend Roy, and I think about Gary. I think about Roy Haslam. All the friends that I've made there at the track, and it's really something to have that in the back of your head. And I've had Gary on the pit box at Auto Club Speedway, and there's a corner there. It's terrifying. Let me tell you, you're shaking so hard that the car is weaving around. And I mean, I'm backing off. Everybody's backing off, and Gary's like, "No, that corner's flat out." And we're like, "Really? No." He says, "No, it's flat out." He says, "Do what my dad used to do." He says, "If your foot's coming off the gas," he says, "take your other foot and just put it on top like that." Right? And so I did. And I think we were second quick there, or third quick, and we were running. We coulda, shoulda, woulda won that race. We had got a bad start. Long story. But we were running really quick there, and it was mostly due to Gary. So, you talk about payback. Well, Gary's been a real inspiration. He's the reason that I've been racing at Western Speedway for sure, because he talked to me talked my ear off. Like, you want to talk about throwing mud against the wall until it sticks. He did it and said that he needed to go short track racing, and that got me out to the Speedway, and the rest is history. I never, every time I come down to take the green flag at Western, it's just surreal. It's like, is this you in the car? Are you really doing this? Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with that, sorry,
go ahead, Cody.
With you just talking about coming to the green flag, is that your favorite time of the race? Is it pulling after the pits after it? Is it restarts? What's your favorite moment at a short track race? Because the Keg Late Model Series, they're twin 50s, so 50-lap main event usually starts the beginning of the main events. Everyone else runs, and then you run another 50 after. So none of it.
The beer garden.
The beer garden. That's it.
The beer garden would have to be up there as number one. It's physical, it's mental, and there's a lot of times I don't want to be David Smith and I don't want to be at the track. I like just about every time. But when you do accomplish something, it's a really great feeling.
Nice.
It's a really great feeling, and it's a really great feeling to have the guys that I've got working on the cars, Brandon, Steve-O, Blaze, and John down in the States, and we've got lots of volunteers. Dick's helping us, and the names could go on and on. So lots of people help. So you want to do well. When you can go out there and put in a good lap and put in a good finish, it really feels good to do that, and it feels good to just do your best and get out there and do it.
Nice. And Shockwave's big at the racetrack right now. You're helping out tons, bringing the late model series and more awareness to the racetrack again. I think we mentioned about the racetrack being up for sale yet again. What's to come for Shockwave this year? The Canada 200 and some of the some things maybe around that weekend. Or are you ready to talk about that stuff? Is it still sort of quiet?
No, I like to create
release
a little
exclusive. You can have an exclusive here on Short Track Radio.
A little bit of surprise, but we're going to probably probably for sure bring in a guest driver.
Your last one did pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Derek Krause, he's now running a truck full time, and Derek was you know, an unsung hero. He was a no name, and he's getting to be more and more popular. When people will see him in say 5 years' time, and he's driving a cup car, they're going to go, "Oh yeah, that was the kid that drove that track."
It was amazing watching him at the first practice, and then he stood at going to turn 1, and you see him watching. He go over to his dad, and they walk over to turn 3. They watched a little bit there. They went back out, and all of a sudden now they're like half second quicker. And then they watch a couple other things. They go out, they're another half second quicker, and then and all of a sudden like they're fast time. They're leading the first 100 laps of the race. I mean, the skill that he had, and I believe his dad is the crew chief and set up.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with them?
Well, I actually was down seeing Herschel running a race on his 90th birthday or 90th year at Tucson, and there was like Derek Krause over there, so they got son standing there, and he's just this little kid at that time, and hello, Mr. Smith, and I says, "Hi, Derek." I says, "Do you know we have a lot in common?" And he says, "With that, Mr. Smith?" And I says, "Well," I says, "you're just out of diapers, and I'm just into
Just
them."
going into it nice. Exactly.
And anyway, so yeah, and I don't know. He drove the Trans Am cars because we worked a deal with McAnally to train his drivers, Haley Deegan and Derek, and there was one other kid. I'm sorry, I forget his name. Alzheimer's, you know, setting in. Anyway, we did that, and I just like Derek. I like Derek. I like his dad. They're down hometown Wisconsin people.
Short track
my
guys.
crew is kind of making them more worldly.
Bring some of the drinking in.
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit like going out late. And,
Us bad Canadians.
bad.
Yeah.
Well, they're church goer type people too, right? So they haven't. So we take them to restaurants where there's like alternative people, right? I mean, just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And they have never like their just eyes were like saucers, right?
Yeah.
So it's good, and it's been good for our team because they invited us down to the truck race and in Daytona. And they treated us like royalty. I mean, absolute royalty. Boy, I tell you, if people think you're a sponsor,
Oh yeah.
you get a
They
lot
love
of people
you.
talking to you. Let me tell you, I could, if I had wanted to fill an autograph sheet or do selfies, I would be a millionaire.
Yeah.
I tell you, you could put that stuff on Facebook. No, it was really good. Met a lot of cool people from Slugger Lab A to you name it, like top flight, really good people. Brandon got to talk to some of the crew chiefs there. So it's good that we're meeting those people, and bringing the story back around to Western Speedway and the Canada 200. That's kind of what we wanted to do, is kind of bring that back. But I don't really know what people, the fans, want to see. So probably we don't know who's going to be in the car. But I'm going to have 2 cars unless I really wreck one really bad, which could happen. But yeah, the plan is to and probably do 2 races this year. So there's something you've heard live, and there's a commitment.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to do 2 races. I think we're going to get a guest driver up for 2 races,
Great.
and bring somebody up from the States, and have a good time. We got some new cars this year, so it's looking really good.
Do you have the car behind us? This is the car that you ran last year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All the body panels. We've got some doors
We have
around the shop here that look like they've been through the ringer.
Many doors and fenders. Yeah, that's my specialty.
Nice.
And and of course, I raced at Western Speedway, and then the first time I went to an oval race or to a road course race, somebody kind of like was going to go for a place that wasn't theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a collision.
Yeah.
Well, guess who got blamed for that? And I learned no, you can't race SCCA road race like you're at Western Speedway.
A little more room needs to be
Yes.
given.
Leave just a little
That's why Bristol's so fun to watch. It's back. The short track guys are back to racing short track, and it's fun to see that type of racing. I like for a certain extent, and then some of those big tracks they can, it's not that it's boring, but they get drawn out, and it's nice. I like to mix it up. We get some short track.
Definitely Western Speedway, we mix it up. I can attest to that because I went through a lot of fenders last year, and I went through a lot of doors, and I'm sure everybody else did. And that was one thing, talking about my experiences with racing and this whole learning process, and Roy Smith and getting to Western Speedway is I got my butt handed to me on a platter when I'm out there. We've got good drivers and good cars out there. You know, I really would say that it's the best of the best that I've ever seen, because back in my day you had one really good car and really good crew, and there was like a handful of people that won everything. And now it can go, the technology, you can Google it on your cell phone and on setup, and you can buy parts. The rules packages are better, the cars are better, but the drivers are so much better. It's just like, it really blew my mind. As I say, I went out there fully thinking that, oh, you're going to just buy a new How car, and you've been racing in the States, you're going to go out there and you're going to kick butt. Oh no, like I struggle. I like
that local knowledge. We were talking with Jason Frost last podcast, and there's some really good drivers that come out of Western. I don't know what it is exactly, if it's a flat track and just a no bank. It's just always been great drivers. You've been a part of building a lot of those guys' cars and stuff, but so racing locally, you're going to be doing that you're doing the whole series for the KEG late model?
Yes, sir.
And then, so what's goals for this year?
Well, we're going to do the, of course, as you mentioned, the KEG late model series, the Trans Am series. I would like to at least podium in the Trans Am series for the year, which means that we gotta put our big boy panties on. There's some serious contenders there. We start in Sonoma, we finish off at Circuit of the Americas. So there's that, and then new on their horizon is Dick Bidgley has been pestering me to run one of his K&N cars.
Nice.
And I originally, that was the plan, was to run a K&N race at Sonoma. So we're going to drag out one of Dick's cars and prep it and probably run 2 road course races with ARCA or K&N. I don't know what it is now.
ARCA Menard.
Yeah, ARCA Menard series, yeah.
So we're going to run the ARCA Menard series. And then I had somebody foolish enough to ask whether I was interested in running a truck when I was in Daytona.
Oh boy.
And
maybe Shockwave number 19?
Until I watched them on TV, which was a mistake. But yeah, so we might, not this year, but next year I'd like to run a truck.
Awesome.
I like, this is all a social experiment, right? This is all like
knocking bucket list stuff off.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I think that older people gave themselves a bad rap, and I don't think they worked hard enough, and I don't think they dreamt big enough. I don't think they got people behind them and they didn't have the commitment. And I'm maybe an anomaly, but there are a lot of racers out there. Savvy Swindell's racing; he's 67 years old. Morgan Shepherd was racing Xfinity cars at 74 years old. So, you look at Paul Newman, you look at a lot of those examples, and there's people in history that have done it. They didn't have the training, they didn't have the technology. We're a little shy on the money. If any of you people would like to send some in.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
Yes.
we only have one mic. Like, come on.
We're coming to you again for money.
Yeah, exactly. We are racers, so that's what you do. You have your fancy car in the background, and you're like, "Well, we need money," and everyone does, right? That's the thing that a lot of short track racers do.
The same amount today as it did when I started. Every cent you have.
Yeah, it's all of it. Yeah,
Yes.
Everything goes to it.
Yeah.
All right, I think we'll get into the rapid fire questions to wrap it up.
Yeah, actually we have 5 questions. You kind of answered a couple of them there. Yeah, you blacked out for a bit, David, but it's been an hour and a half.
You're back.
Yes. So we have some rapid fire questions here. First question: pre-race traditions.
Eating properly, exercising, and sleep.
Okay, so eating proper. What does that look like for you? Is it vegetarian, just portion control? What are you doing at 69 in a bunch?
It's lean protein, vegetable protein, and vegetables like cooked or raw.
Nice. What's the deal with your number? So we got a couple different numbers that you've ran.
Identity crisis. It's going to be 5 and 15.
5 and 15.
That's my numbers. Yeah.
Okay, and so where do those come from?
S5 is our product that we advertise, so that's hence the S5, because I thought it'd be a clever marketing point.
Nice little marketing.
And it is. It's kind of 5, kind of my standard number. We had 11 on the car, and I had 22, and I toyed with kind of old historic numbers, and then realized that I need to build my own identity. So that's where that came from.
Nice. Okay. You did mention a little bit about some stuff you want to do in the future, but car or race that you want to compete in?
I would like to do in the immediate needs. Like next year, I'd like to have a really very competitive car at the ARCA race at Sonoma because it goes along with the Cup weekend, and it's a big race. It's well attended. You're racing against the Cup drivers. It's
The top guys there.
Yeah, it's a good race to be in. So that's definitely a goal. I'd like to run a truck one day. So
I guess I should update this question. I guess it's a car, truck, or race that you want to compete in. Perfect.
There we go. Truck.
Well, I think both of those.
Yeah, exactly.
There
Best spotter or crew member comment.
Oh, well, that has to go to Gary Smith. Because I was racing at Auto Club, and it was when I was new. And he told me, he says, it was like my dad was out there in the car, and I was driving the 11 Tribute car, and I was like way over my head, like sideways all the time, and like really, really trying hard. And he was like in my head, just like go on the mic all the time. So yeah, that was definitely a high point. But having said that, everybody has been very, very kind. Like the first part of my life, I don't think I got credit for what I did, and now I'm getting too much. So
Good problem to have.
we go.
All right, the last question. Best track for an after party.
best track for an after party would have to be Yakima.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the story goes with that smile you just came on your face there?
Well, because I sort of like bought up all of the beer that they had in the beer garden and then distributed it to an area. Because if I'm having fun, everybody's having fun. And I lost the race. We didn't race all that well. It was a long race, and I don't want to talk about it. But I won the party. It was definitely
The Yakima it is. Awesome. So?
I think that's going to wrap up another edition
Another
of Short
episode.
Track. Anybody you want to give a plug to, Dave, before we finish things off?
I just want to thank everybody that works for me, and I just want to thank everybody that works on the cars, man. I couldn't do it, and I couldn't do it without you guys and all the support of the track and people that go out and races. It's very awesome. I'm very thankful for it all.
Awesome. Thanks for taking the time.
Great way to wrap it up. This has been another edition of Short Track Radio. Tune in whenever we feel like posting this next.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.